Hello YouTube, my name is Daniel and welcome back to my Android music streaming app series where I'm building a Android music streaming app from scratch using Jetpack Compose and Firebase. In the last video we set up our theme and our composables. In this video we're going to be working on the player screen. So to get started on our composables folder we want to right click and select new Kotlin class / file, and this will be called player screen. We can remove the class body and add the composable function. The first composable we are going to create is the composable for our title, to display the title of our app, and that will be called title. This will be a column with a modifier for the padding, 15 dp, and we want this to fill the maximum width. Next, inside the column, we will have a text composable. The text will be our app title, which is a string resource. Then for the font size we want a quite large font, which will be 36 SP. Then the font weight will be bold. Just add a bit more space to this file. And after the font weight we want the font family, which will be the title font, and the text align, which will be textalign.center. And that is it for the title. The next composable we will create is the player, and that will be called player. And this will take 5 parameters. The first one will be the track, which will be a mutable state of track. Then we have the isPlaying value, mutable state of boolean, on music player click, and this is an interface that will be created in our main activity. So on music button click. Next we need another boolean state for the turntable arm. So this will be when the turntable arm is finished animating. So turntable arm finished. And that will be a mutable state of boolean. And then we will have the isBuffering state, and this is for when we are loading a track. And that will be a mutable state of boolean. And to start this off, we will have a column. The modifier for this will just be the padding. So modifier padding, and it will have 30 dp of padding. And we want to fill the maximum width. Next we will have a text composable, and this will have the song title, so that will be track.value.song title. Then the font size, which will be 24.sp, and we want to align this in the center. And we can do this by using a modifier, so modifier.align alignment.center horizontally. And after the modifier we need to add the font weight, which will again be bold as it is a title. Next we will have the text align, which would be textalign.center. And after the text widget, we want a box. And for the modifier, we want to align it in the center. So align center horizontally. And for the content inside this box, we also want that to align in the center. So alignment in the center. And to provide the content, we just need to add these brackets. And this is where we're going to start building out that music bar animation. So animating those bars from the bottom of the player to the top whilst the song is playing. And that will just give it a little animation just to show that the music is playing. In order to start this, we first need to initialize the height of the canvas, and that will be initialized as 0. So canvas equals mutable, and this needs to be wrapped in a remember block, as it will be remembered on recomposition. So remember mutable state of 0f. Then we want to initialize the music bar animation, so music bar anim, and we are using remember infinite transition for this, as this will continue to animate until the track has stopped playing. And the value that we are going to animate will be the music bar height, and that will be using animate float. So music bar anim for the transition, animate float, the initial value will be 0, the target value will be a if check, so if the turntable arm is finished and the is playing value is true, so if the turntable has finished animating, we know that the turntable arm is on the record, and the record can start to spin, and this animation can also start to play as well. So if those conditions are true, we want it to be the height of the canvas. Otherwise, we want it to be 0, as we do not want it to animate. Animation spec will be infinite repeatable, as this is a repeatable animation. The configuration will be tween, and that will be a duration of 500 seconds, 500 milliseconds. That is how long the animation will take, and this will again be repeated. And then we can add a repeat mode, which will be repeat mode.reverse. And we just need to run an import, and that is the music bar height. After that has been created, we can then initialize our canvas to draw our animation. We want this canvas to fill the maximum size available, and we want to rotate it 180 degrees, and this will make sure that the music bars animate up from the bottom. And the background color will be a transparent dark gray. So to do that, we do color.darkgray.copy and change the alpha to 0.4f. Then we can get rid of the onDraw parameter and add in our brackets. And now we can get the canvas width from here, which will be this.size.width, and then we can initialize the height. So canvas height equals this.size.height. And just make sure we add the dot value on the end. Now we can start drawing the music bars which we will animate using those values we created, and we are going to draw 7 music bars to go across the whole of the player, and to do that we will use a loop. So for I in 0 to 7, we want to draw a rectangle. The color will be color.dark gray, copy alpha 08. So this will be a slightly darker color but still transparent. The size will be dictated by the animation values that we created up here. So the size will be size canvas width divided by 9 for how many music bars there will be, and the music bar height. So all the music bars will have the same height and they will all have the same width, and it will just be enough space to have 8 music bars and then space in between them. Then after that we need to add a offset, and we're using the top left for the offset, and this is the space between each of the bars. So offset just run that import, and the X will be the canvas width divided by 8 times the I value to float, and the Y will be 0f, as we want no offset for the vertical axis. Then after our canvas we can actually build our player, which will have the pause, skip and play icon, and that will be a row. And firstly we'll have an image, and then a painter with a painter resource, and the ID will be r.drawable, and this will be the skip icon, so skip previous. The content description will be a string resource with the string previous, and a modifier and this will be a clickable modifier. And firstly, to enable the clicking on this icon, we want to use the isBuffering value, because if the song is buffering, we do not want it to be clicking on this player. So that will be isBuffering.value. So if isBuffering is false, then we can do the onClick. And we can add that in here. So onClick, and that will call this function on our interface for the onMusicPlayer click, and it will be a function called onMusicButtonClick, and we are passing a music player option which we created from our enum class, and we will pass in previous. And we can copy and paste this image a few times, as it will be very similar. So for the third one, this will be the skip button. So this will be skip next for the drawable. The string resource will be next song, and then the modifier will be the exact same function, but it will pass skip, and it's also going to have some padding of 16 dp and a size of 35 dp, and we'll add these values to the other buttons as well. Now for this one, the painter resource will be an if statement, because if the song is playing, we want to display the pause icon, and if it's not, we want to display the play icon. So if is playing value is true, we want to provide the pause icon, otherwise we want to provide the play icon. And after the images, we want to show our progress overlay if the song is buffering, and this will go over the whole player, and we will create this composable in a sec. So if is buffering dot value is true, we want to show our progress overlay. And after the music player, we can create our turntable, which is another composable function. So turntable, and this will take 3 parameters. The first one is playing, next is the turntable arm state, and that is again a boolean, and the final one is turntable arm finished, and this will be a column with a modifier for filling the maximum width and a padding of 60p. Then inside here we'll have our turntable drawable, which we haven't created yet, but we will create this just underneath the composable, and it will take a shape parameter, which is a rounded corner shape of 20 dp corners, then a size of 240 dp, the turntable drawable, which is the record, then the is playing state, followed by the turntable arm state, and is turntable arm finished. And we can create this function underneath, and we'll just put all of these on separate lines to make it more readable. And now we can get started on our turntable drawable. First off, we want to initialize the playing state. So playing state equals remember is playing. Whenever that updates, this composable will also update. First off, we'll have a column with a modifier to fill the maximum width, and we want to wrap the content size with alignment.center. Then inside here we will have a box, and the modifier, we are going to pass in the size with the parameter. Then we will clip it using the shape passes the parameter. Then the background, which we will get from our theme, material theme, .colors, .primary. So let's run that import. Now inside this box, we are going to create our turntable animation, so that is the rotating record. And to do this, we will need another infinite transition, which will be remember infinite transition. Next, we want to create our turntable rotation value. So turntable rotation will be infinite transition, animate float. The initial value will again be 0, The target value will be 360, so a complete circle, and the animation spec will be infinite repeatable. Again, it will be tween for the config, and it will take 5 seconds to rotate, and we will have a easing of linear easing, and the repeat mode will be repeat mode.restart. And now we will create the animation for the turntable arm. So turntable arm anim, which is a float. And that will be again by animate float as state. And this will not be infinite as we won't be repeating it. So if turntable state.value, so if that is true, we want to animate it 35F, otherwise it'll be 0, and this is just animating it to the record. The animation spec will be tween, duration will be 1 second, easing will be fast out, slow in easing, and then we'll have a finished listener. So when this animation is finished, we want to turn turntable arm finished dot value to true. And now we can actually add our turntable image. So image with a painter resource, and that will be turntable drawable. The content description will be turntable. I'm just going to, and this is a string resource. Next we want a modifier. The size of this will be 180 dp, followed by alignment, which will be alignment.center. Then we want to rotate this using the animation values we created. So the degrees is going to equal if playing state.value is true and the turntable arm finished state is true, turntable arm turntable rotation, otherwise it will be 0F as it won't be rotating. And we just need to go back up to those playing images, as I remembered I missed out the content description. So for the play image up here, the string resource will be play. Now after this last image, for the turntable resource, we can add in our turntable arm, and that will be a box. And this is just created using composables, so we will have one box, one column, and another box, and this will just create our turntable arm. So firstly, for the first box, we want a modifier, and the size will be 40 dp, followed by the background, which will be color.dark gray. Then we want to clip this into a circle shape. Followed by some padding, which would be 12 dp. And we want to align this to the bottom start. Next, inside that box, we want another column. The with a modifier. And for that modifier, we want to rotate, and this is the turntable arm, so this will be rotated if we are playing a song, and that will be turntable arm anim. And for the align, it will be alignment.bottom start again. And for the padding, we just want padding to the left, so that will be 12 dp followed by 3 zeros. And inside this column, we will have one final box. The modifier will be for the size, which will be 16 dp. For the width, the height will be 120 dp. And this is for the actual arm. The background for this will be light grey. And to access that, we can use color.lightgrey. To make it easier, I'm just going to put these in separate lines. So background is light grey, and then we're going to have a border. The border will have a border stroke of 2 dp, and the color will be dark grey. And after that, we just need to create our progress overlay, which is another composable. And this will just go over the player just to show that we are buffering a track. And that will be called progress overlay. It won't take any parameters, and it will just be a column with a modifier for filling the max size. Then inside here, we want a box. The modifier will change the color, so background, color, we want this to be another dark grey, grey, copy, and the alpha for this will be 0, 6, as we want this to be transparent, and we want this to fill maximum size. Inside the box, we will have a progress bar, which will just be a circular progress indicator, and a modifier to align it to the center of this player. So modifier, align, alignment.center. And before we end, I'm just going to make sure all these composables are complete. So I will go ahead and create that interface for the music player button click. And I'll create that in the main activity. So at the bottom of the main activity, just add a bit more space, and we want to create an interface, and this will be called on music button click, and this will have one function called on music button click, and it will take a command which will be a music player option, which is the enum class which we created in an earlier tutorial, and that should get rid of our error. Just need to run the import, and there we go, that error is now gone. So I'm going to end this video here, guys. In this video we pretty much created all of the UI for this app. We just need to bring it all together in our main activity, run the app and do some testing. So I'll do that in the next video. If you have any questions, please post them down in the comments. Please like the video, and please